Hi, guys, and welcome to THFC Till I Die Home, Tottenham Past, Present, and exciting future course under Ange Postecoglou. And this is the pre-game thoughts to our third round game away to Tamsworth in FA Cup, the greatest cup competition alive, the best competition, won it 8 times. We have a rich history of winning this competition, and we really do have a rich history, but we haven't won it since 1991. It's a long time, and could this be the year that Spurs go to Wembley and win another FA Cup? We've been there so many times in the past. In the first non-league side to win it in 1901, the first side when we won the double of the last century, we won it there in 61. Do you know we won 61, 81, 1901, 1921, 61, 81, 1991, the year that ends with a one. Spurs always win a trophy. Of course, we won it in 62 and 67 and 82 as well. Didn't win it in 87, got our first ever FA Cup final defeat. I know a lot of Spurs fans like to forget a game against Coventry, but it is significant. It was the game we lost our first ever FA Cup final. And also, if you remember back to that game, it was the game Clive Allen got his 49th goal on the season. Also, if you look back, some of the Tottenham shirts had the um, Holston sewed onto their kit, but some of them didn't. It was a very bizarre thing. I think your kit man got fired for that, but the new sponsors weren't on all the kit. Of course, we lost it true to a Gary Mabbott own goal, but he did return redemption back in 91 to captain the side to lift the FA Cup and our last FA Cup win, which is absolutely shocking. I was a teenager the last time we won an FA Cup, and then somebody had said to me, Dermo, you're now 8-time winners. You're the most. You've won the FA Cup more than anyone else, but you won't win another FA Cup for a long time. I would have said they were talking out their backside. But Arsenal have won it 14 times. Manchester United have won it 13 times. And we're with Chelsea on 8. We're on 8. And I think Man City are on 8 or 7 off the top of my head. So it is a competition that's so dear to our hearts. And I said we won it back in 1901 as a non-league side. That's never been done before. Never been repeated. Never been even no non-league sides even got this far to a final since we did it back in 1901. Talk about setting the standards and holding high on what Tottenham Hotspur is all about and what the FA Cup means to us. It means everything to us fans, and we've got to plenty of semi-finals over the years since, but we just never got over that hurdle, did we? We never got that. We've got this semi-final hoodoo we need to break, and we've got to break it in the FA Cup to get back to Wembley, to get back to lift that old famous trophy. And as Ozzy said, bring it back home. We have Ange's dream, not Ozzy's dream anymore. It is Ange's dream or Sonny's dream, whatever you wish to call it. But Sonny's gonna take us to Wembley on the general Postecoglou. He is gonna take us there, and he's gonna guide us to victory. But it isn't the first time we've played non-league sides before. And you knowing me, I love a bit of history. I love looking back through the years gone by and giving you a bit of a history lesson in Tottenham's FA Cup history and the non-league sides we have played before. Now, I can remember Maine and Marlow, I think, and Altrincham. I think there are 3 games I can remember that. But we have played once before, back in early of last century, back after we were FA Cup champions of 1901. So let's go back. Let's go back in time. And of course, the first game was we played Plymouth in the first round. Now, we become a league side by then. So anything before 1910, we were a non-league side. So there was no point because we were playing against non-league side. So 1910 was the first time Spurs played a non-league side as a league side. We're away to put Plymouth in 1910. We drew 1-1, but in the replay, we beat them 7-1. So, good start in our history. Back in 1913, though, Reading, a non-league side, beat us in the league. Beat us in the second round of the FA Cup. Reading got a major scalp that day. And then Norwich City as well, 2 years later, beat us 3-2. at their ground. So that's 2 defeats to non-league sides in a row we had. Um, and then in 1920, the year before we won the FA Cup in 1921, when we beat Wolverhampton Wanderers at Stamford Bridge, beaten who did we beat? Beat Wolves 1-0 at Stamford Bridge. I did say that. Uh, we actually beat West Stanley. Now, I did a little bit of tracking. I don't think West Stanley are a club anymore. I couldn't find anything about them, but we did beat them 4-0 at home. And then in 1923, we drew 0-0 to Workshop Town. But we did beat them 9-0 in the replay. Now, home advantage for the replay was sold by Workshop Town. I don't know why. Maybe the ground wasn't big enough, but home advantage for the replay was sold by Workshop fan. I think it just gave them better play at White Hart Lane, give them more money. The gate receipts would have done them a lot of good. In 1956, of course, we beat Boston United 4-0. In 1973, the team had a trip to Margate, which I'm sure went down very well with some of the Spurs players having the trip to Margate, but it wasn't a cold January day. And they won they won 6-0 against Margate. Wow. Now, these are sort of the games back in the late 70s when Ozzy was joining the club, their first sort of 78, 79 season. We're back in the first division, and this is his first tilt at the FA Cup. We drew 1-1 with Altrincham at home, but we beat them 3-0. Pardon me. Sorry, do apologise about that. We did beat them 3-0 away, but the replay was staged at Main Road for Manchester City for some reason, and I still don't know why. Just it was done. I think that's where maybe the ground wasn't good enough, or maybe the ground wasn't up to league standards. So the nearest ground probably to Altrincham was Manchester, so that it was played there. But we did beat them 3-0. Of course, back in 1993. The year we reached the semi-final and lost to the them lot down the road when they got the revenge. We did beat Marlow 5-0, and the tie was due to be played at Marlow, but Marlow's ground wasn't good enough. Wasn't up to league standard. So they played the tie at White Hart Lane and we won 5-0. Of course, we played Altrincham again back in 1995. We beat them 3-0. And that was also the year that we reached the semi-final. But we lost to Everton in the semi-final 4-1, I think. And also in 2021, we did play away at Marine 5-0 and raised them a lot of money because of the gate receipts all went to Marine. We have played non-league sides from the Southern League, the North Eastern League, the Midland League, the Northern Premier League, the Instamp League, and the Northern Premier League as well. We have won 9 times against non-league sides. We've drawn 3. Of course, we won the replays. Lost 2, of course, them 2 early defeats against Norwich and Reading, respectively. Of course, we have scored 50 goals against non-league side. We've only conceded 6. So we've got a really good record against non-league side. 14 games we've played against non-league side, and we won 9 out of 14. Lost 2, but that was really back early in the last century, guys. But tomorrow should be another 5-0. I think it is. It's got to be. And I'm going for 6-0. It's going to be a 6-0 win. FA Cup history, of course, we were the first non-league side to win it. We did draw 2-2 with Sheffield United in the first game, but we beat them 3-1 in the replay. In 1921, of course, at Stamford Bridge, as front of 72,805, and also the King of England at the time. We did beat Wolves and we won 1-0 at Stamford Bridge. Our first win at Wembley under the Twin Towers back then, of course, was the 6th of May, 1961. A very, very special day in Tottenham Hotspur history because it was the day we completed the League and Cup double, the first team to do it in the last century. And it wasn't the greatest game. Bill Nix said we didn't play well that day, but we did beat a Leicester side that were good. But we won the double, the first team ever to do the double. Of course, them lot down the roads did it 10 years later, but we did stop them doing the double in 1991, which is more satisfying that we knocked them out of the FA Cup in a semi-final and stopped them doing the double. how beautiful was that? And it was a great feeling. Went on to win the competition. Of course, we retained the trophy a year later. We beat Burnley 3-1. Jimmy Greaves' first ever FA Cup final goal for Tottenham. He scored first in that 3-1 victory. Of course, all the way up to 1967, we won the London derby. It was a Cockney. It wasn't the Cockney final. It was a London derby against Chelsea. We won 2-1, and then we had to wait a load of years before we returned to Wembley, and it wasn't until 1981. So you're looking at 61, 71. You're looking at 20 years since we last won the FA Cup on that double day. You're looking at, I think, 15 years since we last won it in 1967. I think my maths are right. We returned to Wembley with Ozzy, with Keith Birkinshaw, Steve Perriman, Graham Roberts. We had that famous semi-final where we beat Wolverhampton Wanderers 2-0 or 3-1 at Highbury, when it was 2 for Crooks, 2 for Spurs, when Archibald put him through for that second. We drew 1-1 in the first leg, but in the second leg, this is an FA Cup final that goes down in history as probably one of the greatest FA Cup finals ever. Some of the greatest goals you were ever likely to see in any FA Cup final. We had Hutchinson scoring that screamer from outside the area, and then you had Ricky Villa running his slalom around the Man City players. You can see Garth Brooks in the back, sort of with his foot. Hit it, hit it, hit it, he was shouting. And he did hit it. And boy, did he hit it. It went into the back of the net. Spurs won their first trophy under Keith Birkinshaw. Their first trophy since returning from the second division after being relegated in the 77. And it really was. It put Tottenham onto a trajectory of winning 3 trophies in 4 years. At White Hart Lane, we reached many semi-finals, finals as well. And it probably was my successful time in our history. Of course, we repeated it again the first time since 61, 62. We came back in 82, like we did 20 years previously, and retained the FA Cup. We beat Queen's Park Rangers 1-0 in a replay, 1-1 in the first leg, and we won the second leg due to a Glenn Hoddle penalty. And also Glenn Hoddle scored in the first game as well with a brilliant shot from outside the area. The penalty was actually won by Graham Roberts. And I think Terry Fenwick played in that final. And if I remember rightly, did he play in the 91 FA Cup final? Maybe you let me know in the comments, but something in the back of my head telling me he did. Again, of course, we reached the FA Cup final, our third FA Cup final in the 80s, like we did in the 60s, 61, 62, 67, 81, 82, 87, when we repeated the 60s, like we repeated in the 80s what we did in the 60s. But instead of winning that day and winning 3 FA Cups in the 80s, we didn't. We lost our first ever FA Cup final to Coventry City, who were playing in their first FA Cup final. Of course, it was a goal for Glenn Hoddle's, Clive Allen's 49th goal this season. It was Glenn Hoddle's last match for Tottenham Hotspur. I think Ozzy's last final as well for Spurs, because he didn't play in the 82 final because of the Falklands War. So this was a return for him as well, to see can he retain his FA Cup title. And Gary Mabbott, a long-serving Tottenham Hotspur captain as well, who lifted the trophy in 91, scored an own goal that day. And I think every Spurs fan felt so sorry for him. But Coventry City did beat us. And it's still the only FA Cup final we have ever lost. Considering we haven't been back in an FA Cup final since, but it's still the only one we've lost. And it's quite shocking. It's quite shocking. We've played in 9 FA Cup finals. We've won 8 of them. And we've lost this one. And that one stings. This one rarely stings. And we had a chance that season to do the double or the treble. We were finished high in the league. We lost to Arsenal in the League Cup semi-final. That went to a replay as well. And then we lost to Coventry City, a team that offered so much, a season that offered so much, ended up with nothing. Was really a gut-wrenching feeling. And then we started going on a bit of a downward spiral after that. David Pleat then was sacked afterwards. We then brought in Terry Venables, who for no fault of his own, did bring Tottenham up there again, but we never really ever were to really show what we did in that 86, 87 season. It wasn't. It was a great side, a great attacking flair side with Hoddle and Waddle. And can you imagine Gaza and Lineker within that as well? What a team we would have went on to dominate. But we did get back to another FA Cup final. It was 1991. It was a year that ended with a 1, and we did beat Nottingham Forest 2-1. It was always dubbed the Gascoigne Clough final. Brian Clough's first time in an FA Cup final. He never won the FA Cup final as a player. He had his player career caught short because of a knee injury. But he was there back with Nottingham Forest, who were very accomplished at cup final sides. Won a few League Cups as well under Brian Clough. Won the league once, won the European Cup twice, but always quite good in the League Cup finals, and also the first ever cup final. A young Warren Keane playing in the final. Look what Roy Keane went on to achieve Manchester United. We had Gary Charles, and then of course it was the famous tackle by Gaza. And that's this time, and I keep repeating that this time was so important for Tottenham because we were in financial difficulty. We were about to be wound up. We were about to be declared bankrupt. Paul Gascoigne was going to be sold for Lazio, I think, for 6 point or 7 point something million. And all that was going to Midland Bank to keep them from our door. And it was the most traumatic time as a Spurs fan. And at the backdrop of this, it was this amazing cup final run that took us from Blackpool all the way to Wembley and beaten Arsenal in the semi-final as well. We beat Oxford United in the quarterfinals thanks to Gaza. It was the Gaza got us to that final. And then he did the one tackle on Gary Charles, and then the second one, I think on Ian Woym. I think I've got them the other way around, but I know he tackled both of them. And he twisted his knee and done his ligaments. And I don't think Paul Gascoigne was ever the same player again after that injury, to be fair. He did come back. He did play for Lazio. He did play for Glasgow Rangers, Everton, Middlesbrough, but he was never, ever the same player, I don't think, again. He just lost that something after that injury. But we did win it. We did win it 2-1 with goals from Paul Stewart and an own goal from Des Walker. And it was really ironic history that from 87, where Gary Mabbott scored his own goal, back to Des Walker doing it 91. It was quite ironic that it was an own goal that won us the FA Cup. Of course, under the great late Terry Venables as well. And he went on then to buy the club at Alan Sugar. And the rest of that is history and all the shenanigans that went on with that. Our all-time FA Cup goal scorers, of course, is the great late Mr. Jimmy Greaves, the greatest Tottenham striker ever to pull on the lily white shirt with 32 goals. We've got Bobby Smith, also a great striker of his era in the 60s as well, with 22. And Jimmy Greaves is formidable striking partner of Ali Gilzine with 21. Of course, we've won the FA Cup 8 times. We should have won it 9, but for that one defeat. And I'm sure Mr. Brady's watching this. He will be chucking something at the telly. Because he keeps telling me he doesn't remember 87. I was a kid in 87 and I was devastated. Like I don't remember 81, remember 82 a bit more. Definitely remember us winning the UEFA Cup in 84. And to see this team of Hoddle and Waddle and Clive Allen and, all like Ray Clements in goal, and you're looking at probably a backbone of the Berkshire team still there. Like Graham Roberts going and Tony Galvin going and Paul Miller going, and that team being broken up. But this team that was brought in, and Glenn Hoddle was the glue, was the team that it was built around. For me, was a great sign, and not to win anything in 87 was heartbreaking for me. But look, we returned in 91 and won the FA Cup. And and if somebody said that was the last time you would win an FA Cup, I would have said you're talking out of your backside. But it was. Tottenham Hotspur's record, of course, in the whole competition, we have played a total of 451 times in the FA Cup. We've won 234 of them matches. We've drawn 108. We've lost 109. We have scored 910 goals in the FA Cup between 1894-95 season to 23-24. We have conceded 500 and 40 goals as well. We've got a goal difference plus of 370, and we have a 63.86 win percentage in total. Now, away games, we've won 198, we've won 73, drawn 57, lost 68, scored 307, conceded 275 goals. So we've got a goal difference of 32 plus there, here or there. But we just got nearly over a 50% win record. We've got a better home record than we do away record, to be fair. Plus three FA Cup matches were abandoned and one was annulled. And I will find out what them games are, and I will have it in for your watch along tomorrow, guys. But don't also, guys, if you can do me a favor, please hit the like button. As also, do hit the subscription button as well on our March to 3K. Please do get over to our Big Up channel, also on Match Day Live, where we will be doing more stuff there once we get a chance. But it's such a busy time at the moment with the football, with the Tottenham side, with the league, with the FA Cup, UEFA Cup as well. It's just match after match after match, and of course the Premier League. So we will be trying to get over there as soon as we can to do some content for you guys. Also, do hit in the description below for the our channel sponsor, Private Internet Access, €45 for 2 years. And then you get 4 months free on top of that. That will stop your match day blackout blues. If you do, helps them, it helps us. So thank you very much. And guys, we are back tomorrow. We've got Tottenham Team Talks. We have the watch along and also final score, where we were talking about the match we've just seen. Monday, I'll do a bit more in-depth look at the game on Monday, plus any transfer news that's coming of Tottenham have bought or linked with anyone. We will give you the very latest in that as well. And also we'll be building up, of course, to the North London derby, which I'm very much looking forward to. But guys, please enjoy the content. Let me know if you want this as a members live show as well. I'm thinking of doing the same with the predicted lineup. Do I do them as members live? So let me know, guys, if you want that. If not, I will keep it as it is. Do pick up your membership. There's plenty more member stuff coming your way. But whatever you do, come on, you Spurs. In Big Ange we trust. We're going on our way to Wembley. This is our year. Spurs are returning to the FA Cup final, where we're going to lift that famous trophy and bring that trophy back to where it belongs, back to White Hart Lane. Come on, you Spurs. In Big Ange we trust.